The gut arthritis link is the single most important factor for you to understand to actually start improving arthritis. Yes, you can. There is so much evidence out there, and over the last 10 years, it has exploded in terms of the link between the gut, particularly the microbiome, but the whole digestive tract, and arthritis. The severity of it, the signs of it, the symptoms of it, and the occurrence of it. So if you understand this link, you can make a big change. So I'm going to run through why we know that this link is so important. But secondly, I'm going to run through what we can do in fixing the gut to actually help ameliorate arthritis. Now, at the end of the day, this is the most important one, but it's not the only one. There are other factors, which I will have in my other videos. But this is the first step for people to take. When people come and see me, they've got any condition at my talks, they will say, look, what do I do? Fix the gut, fix the gut. And that's the other part which I'll follow on directly from this. But the beginning of it, first of all, we know that arthritis is an inflammatory disease as a result of oxidation, and we know that most of the inflammation in the body comes from the gut, comes from other sources too, e.g. obesity, extra weight and things like that, toxins and so on. But in this case, the biggest source and the easiest one to deal with, at least in the short term, is the gut. We know that poisoning the gut to test arthritis. So when they've got animal experiments and they want to create an animal, a mouse or a rat with arthritis, one of the ways they do it is by poisoning the gut microbiome of those mice, often with antibiotics, by the way, to cause the arthritis so that they can then test a drug, to see if it works to fix the arthritis. Oh, hold on. But the way they create many of the mice in these test scenarios is by literally poisoning the gut microbiome to create a state of dysbiosis. Now, we also know that dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of the gut microbiome, you've got 100 trillion microorganisms in your large intestine and in small intestine and all the way through, and they have so many functions throughout the body. They're connected to everything, okay? And what happens is if you're in a state of dysbiosis, it's not functioning properly. And what that means is that some of the species that should be lower are higher, and some of the good ones that you've probably heard of, like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria and akkermansia, they're all down and they should be up. So this biosis or dysbiosis creates the imbalance, and as a result, it leads to arthritis. And we know from all of the studies, hundreds and hundreds of studies, that people with arthritis have gut dysbiosis. And we also know, remember, that to create gut dysbiosis in mice, we create arthritis too. We also know that there are some specific bacteria species and even individual bacteria that we know, or at least the varieties, that are linked directly with an increasing risk of arthritis. In fact, they can introduce these bacteria into the gut and induce arthritis in test animals. We know that gut comorbidity. So if you've got gut issues, e.g. inflammatory bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome or reflux or SIBO or any of the gut conditions, dental decay, periodontal disease, are all linked to the gut. All of these are associated with a much, much higher rate of arthritis. And by the way, that the gut, if you've got arthritis, they're associated with a much higher rate of these gut illnesses as well. So it's a two-way street. So this is really important because it comes down to the point, well, hold on, what are we trying to fix? And I always say, start with the gut. And that way you start to fix so many other things, from hypertension, a cardiovascular risk factor, cancer risk factors, a whole of them. Then we also know that arthritis medicines, right, work by altering the gut microbiome. So one of the things that those arthritis medicines do is they alter the gut microbiome, move it across to be a healthier gut microbiome. So they're working a little bit like the good foods and things that I'm going to be talking about later. Exactly. But you can see the picture I'm creating, that you cannot deny this link between arthritis and the gut anymore. And then you've got all diets that improve arthritis, improve the gut, and vice versa. So what we know is if you're on a healthy Mediterranean diet or a healthy aged, I think it's called the ancient Scandinavian diet, or one of the tribal diets, then it works on improving the gut microbiome and at the same time works on improving and reducing the risk of arthritis. So we know that indirect link there. So all these diets that we talk about, we know improve. And one of the main ones, which I will mention a little later, is the anti-inflammatory diet, where there's a lot of research on the role of that in reducing arthritis signs and symptoms. We know that fiber, when you increase fiber intake, you reduce the risk of developing arthritis, the different arthritises, and you also reduce the signs and symptoms. So one of the simplest strategies is to increase the right amount of fiber. And that doesn't just mean one type of fiber, by the way. Stay tuned, you'll learn what I mean by that. But fiber lowers the level of arthritis and all of the arthritis outcomes, so signs and symptoms and severity. So it's a great possibility. And what we do know is that one of the outcomes of this is fiber is fermented in the gut to produce something called butyrate. And these butyrate producing bacteria produce more butyrate, and butyrate is now seen as a treatment for arthritis and inflammation. So they're now using that in medicine as a direct treatment. So you can get it as a supplement, by the way, or you can get it from the fermentation of fibers in your gut, which has many other benefits as well. But we know that fiber, butyrate, and lower arthritis and lower inflammation. Remember, inflammation is the cornerstone of arthritis, so we want to lower it. And all of the things I'm talking about here, lower it as well. Then we've got the polyphenols, and these are the nutrients that you've been hearing about so much over the last 20 years, the turmerics and the resveratrol in red wine, but as you'll hear me say many times, there's not enough in there to actually make red wine of any benefit, but it's in all of the foods. It's in the green tea, something called the epicatechins, and all of those increase the biodiversity in the gut microbiome. So they improve it, and at the same time, they decrease arthritic symptoms. So there are at least 500 studies now linking turmeric, by the way, to lowering arthritis. So there's a nice simple hint if you're not already doing it. And no, none of this is a, wow, try it this today and it's going to be fixed tomorrow. It's not. It's a lifestyle program that you introduce slowly and build in to your diet and lifestyle, and you do see the benefits without any doubt. But what we also know is when you have the increase in polyphenols, it improves the gut microbiome, it decreases arthritis, and it also increases the polyphenol bioavailability in our body. In other words, by having some turmeric, the gut microbiome becomes more adept at fermenting the polyphenols, and it increases the fermentation of them so we can absorb more as well, a win-win situation. So it helps in the gut, and then the gut helps it to become more available to our body, where it goes around and has all this anti-inflammatory impact on the joints and wherever the arthritis is. Then we've got, you ready? We're getting up to the absolutely convincing, probiotics improve arthritis. Hundreds of studies now show it. And there are specific species, which I'll show you in a moment, which are linked with improving arthritis. But at the end of the day, what we're doing, first of all, is we're going to work on improving the gut overall, and then we'll identify some of the species. But in rat studies, in mice studies, in human studies, yep, they've done clinical trials where they've got 40 people doing the normal, 40 people taking the probiotics, and overwhelmingly, the studies show an improvement in the arthritic symptoms. So what a simple way to go. Something so simple. Why? Well, because that's going to improve polyphenol fermentation, fiber fermentation. It all works in together. That's why it's important to understand just a little bit of this. We also know that antibiotics, by the way, while they're bad if you overuse them, and they can create literally the dysbiosis, if you've got severe arthritis, they now use probiotics to actually help control the arthritis. So you understand the arthritis gut link and how important it is. And the final one, which is this one, fecal transplants. All of the research showed that fecal transplant, and they now call them wash microbiome transplants, WMTs. The wash microbiome transplant alters arthritis signs and symptoms and can actually induce it. So what they've done is they've got mice, for example, who have arthritis and mice who don't. They take the poo, the wash microbiome transplant, from the mice who have it, put it in the mice who don't, and the mice who don't have it develop arthritis. If that's not convincing, then they take the poo from the mice who don't have it, put it in the mice who do have arthritis, and it reverses. Wow. Now the great thing is, This is out of the laboratory, by the way. It works in humans too. So they've done studies on it now. It started with individuals, but they're now doing studies where they actually give people the wash microbiome transplant, and their signs and symptoms of arthritis decline dramatically as a result. Wow. So here I've convinced you of the role of the gut arthritis link. The first thing you want to do if you've got arthritis or you know anyone is to share it. Please subscribe to the channel down below and share this information, because at the end of the day, we all have these aches and pains as we age, and it can help everybody, because the benefit of this isn't just in arthritis, it's across the board. You're working on your gut microbiome. The gut is the single biggest factor in arthritis. It's widely recognized through all the studies, and I've already shown you all the various links to prove that link between arthritis and the gut. So what we want to now do is work on solutions. How do we fix the gut to improve arthritis? And in that situation, many other forms of chronic illness, from hypertension to various cancers and so on. That's what's so good about this program, is it doesn't compromise other health outcomes, it actually improves them. And the first thing is to understand that we've got to avoid the poisons. Our gut microbiome is a living, dynamic creature. It's an organ, most people consider it now, and it has to be looked after and cared for. And we're constantly eating foods that are poisoning it. These include the processed foods. So all of the processed diet, the Western diet, is overwhelmingly poisoning, and it's the high amounts of gluten in the foods. Please check out the video, I'll have that link below, on gluten to understand why gluten can play such a devastating role. Food additives, so many of those food additives, including the colors, even the artificial sweeteners that people think are good for you, they're not. They're actually poisoning the microbiome and causing lots of problems. Then you've got alcohol, sugar. Cut down, cut out sugar. No added sugar. It's a simple equation. If the food has added sugar in it, don't eat it. And then omega-6 vegetable oils. Now, omega-6 vegetable oils are your processed margarines. Please get away from processed margarines. They are toxic food. Also, check out the additives they've got in there as well. And one other thing that leads from here to there is that Candida, which is a fungi yeast that I've already presented a video on, so have a look at that one. We now know, because of these, it creates Candida, and Candida then creates, or is now linked heavily with many people's arthritis. Now, the fortunate thing is the anti-Candida program I've got with the links below, it's similar to what I'm talking about here, but it even goes further. And so with the gut solutions, now remember, it's not the only cause, it is one of the major, it's the major one, in fact. And so what we've got to do is your gut runs on liquids, hydration, lots and lots of good water. Please, not the chlorinated water, not the fluoridated water, because that is the water that poisons the gut. Those two chemicals and other ones added poison the gut. But we've got to get that hydration. Now, when I say, and I've got a little asterisk or a little note here, to avoid certain food. Now, some people have intolerances. They're not allergic reactions, but intolerance to certain foods and drinks. And it's important to know that if that sets it off, then don't have that. No matter what I say, for example, I've got fermented foods like vinegar and kombucha. They're high in histamines. Now, if you have a histamine intolerance, or if you react to it and it sets off, creates a flare in the arthritis, then avoid it. Remember, you need to personalize this for your own program. So lots and lots of water. The gut runs on water. You can have a glass of water with your food. Yes, you can. It doesn't dilute the stomach acid as such. Your body releases water in there so that it actually can mix up that chyme in there. So have a glass of water. Fermented foods, fermented vinegar, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, lots of those things. They're all adding a mixture of positive microorganisms into the gut. And on top of that, they're helping with the pH of the stomach, which I'll talk about a little later. Omega-3 fatty acids, they're your fish oils. You also get some in the plant-based ones that come from things like linseed and chia seed and walnuts. Absolutely fantastic. And having those foods, by the way, are marvelous for the gut. So a healthy gut food program is your more veggies, more fruits, nuts, seeds, spices and herbs. So that's a summary of what I would suggest to you to start looking into. Then we've got vitamin C, D, E, and K. Now, what's interesting is the first three here have been shown, vitamin C, D, and E, to, when you have enough of them, they get through to the large intestine where the gut microbiome can actually use it, but also it helps repair the gut wall. In the case of vitamin C, our body will absorb about 600 milligrams, 700 milligrams of vitamin C. And if you have anything excess of that, it tends to get into the large intestine. And once it's in the large intestine, it stops or slows down the inflammation that's going on, which enables the bacteria to produce what they need to do to help heal the gut wall. So it's this little system that goes down in the gut microbiome because of vitamin C. I take 3 grams, that's 3 grams of vitamin C a day to help my gut constantly. And the research shows that with vitamin D, E, and vitamin K, which will also help in the repairing the gut wall. A lot of research coming out on that now. Fiber, without any doubt whatsoever, if I was to say to someone, what's the best thing I can do for the gut, it would be fibers. And if there's a single fiber, it's K fiber, without any doubt. And you go to kfiber.com to check that out. But also mixed fibers. It's about checking out all the foods you've got to see that they're high in fiber. Now, with the exception of your drinks, what you want to do is make sure all of your foods have lots of fiber. Added fibers, fine. But what you don't want to do is just do one single type of fiber like psyllium husks. A little bit of psyllium husks mixed with all the other fibers in there and K fiber, fantastic, okay? But not just one. And please make sure that if you're getting a commercial brand fiber, it doesn't have additives. It doesn't have colors, it doesn't have preservatives, because that's what kills the microbiome. Remember, preservatives preserve it by actually knocking out the bacteria and so on. That's what they're designed to do, and that's what you don't want to do. So we go for the fiber. Polyphenols, they're all the really good big molecules that you get in all of your really good foods, okay? All of your juices and your smoothies that I'm constantly recommending to people. But you can also get green tea and or green tea extract. Now, when it comes to hydration, I'm a big fan of drinking green tea first thing in the morning to hydrate the body and to get lots of these green tea polyphenols called catechins. Turmeric, thousands of studies on the benefits of turmeric along with green tea as well. And as far as I know, I can find about 500 studies on turmeric related to improving arthritis. The molecular, the mouse studies, and human studies. So turmeric is an absolute must there. And the active ingredient there is curcumin, and you can get that in many ways. Resveratrol, everyone will know because that's the one you get in red wine, but of course you don't get enough in the red wine to be of any advantage, and the alcohol outweighs that. So you can get that. You can get other supplements, quercetin, another brilliant one. These are supplements you can get that have been demonstrated to actually improve the gut and improve arthritis. Now, are they all going to be the single answer? No, there is no magic bullet. It's about doing a program that's going to rebuild your gut so that your gut can then help you reverse these long-term chronic conditions. And please, all the information, the studies that are done, they're done over a minimum of 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, a year, 2 years in some cases. So nothing is going to happen overnight, but the great thing is it's helping so many of your other health issues that you may have. So we've got those. Now here's another two that I put on the end here, betaine hydrochloric pepsin. Now this is an additive, this is a supplement, and what it is it actually helps with digestion. And one of the things we find is that people who have arthritis have higher levels of reflux and other gut-related issues, IBS, IBD. And people who have reflux and IBS and IBD have higher rates of arthritis. So there is this crossover link that I've already mentioned. And so what we want to do is improve digestion in the stomach. If you can get the stomach digesting correctly, that is high levels of stomach acid, 50% of people, at least 50% of people who have reflux, literally have low stomach acid. So we want to boost that. And you can do it a little bit with your vinegar and kombucha and so on, but absolutely, wherever I go and I'm eating a processed meal, I've got a little supplement in here, betaine hydrochloric pepsin, and of course you can Google that and check out where you can get that. Butyrate is another one that is a byproduct of fiber, and I've already mentioned that. But butyrate you can now get as a supplement, and that helps heal the gut wall. And by healing the gut wall, it takes the pressure off the gut microbiome, so that all of the good things that it does, anti-arthritic things it can do, and butyrate is now used as a supplement specifically for arthritis as well. So it's a win-win-win situation. And of course, when fiber, up here, fiber ferments with the good bacteria, it produces butyrate. So you can see the importance of all of that. So you've got a picture, and that all comes down to start eating better. There is no way around this. If you're on a Western sad diet, standard American, standard Australian diet, then look, I'm sorry, it is the major contributor via the gut, and we're going to fix that, and we're going to fix it properly. Then we've got, okay, probiotics. Probiotics are fantastic. And again, hundreds of studies on probiotics and arthritis. Now, the great thing is I've actually summarized the bacteria that are useful and have been shown to have positive results in the studies. But if you want to get your money's worth, you've got to do the rest of it. Sending the bacteria down on a sick stomach that doesn't get the fiber is setting them on a suicide mission. So what you want to do is feed them, breathe them, and get the maximum benefit of the probiotics. So what are the probiotics? You've heard this many times, but lactobacillus, bifidobacteria, and a new one on the block, bacillus. Okay, so in the studies, these are the ones that have shown to be of benefit specifically for arthritis. Now, they have multiple other benefits too, e.g. in my work on hypertension, they help there. But you've got the Helveticus, Rhamnosus, Casei, Reutarii, and Acidophilus. Acidophilus is probably the most famous one, very common in yogurts. Now, are yogurts good for arthritis? Well, probably not enough probiotics in them to have a benefit. They're not detrimental, but if you do, you go for a pot-set yogurt, which has about 100 times more of the bacteria in there than the little commercial brands that have lots of sugar and colors added to them. So we've got the lactobacillus, you've got the bifidobacteria. The two ones that show up in the studies are the bifidobacteria, bifidum and lactis. So two of those show up. And the third one, or the third group of probiotics, is the Bacillus coagulant. And this is quite common. It's actually put in the K fiber as well. It's quite common now. People are starting to put it in different products. However, what works best, the studies are suggesting, while one or two may be of benefit, 2, 3, or 4 of combinations of these. And there is no one combination, because the studies are showing that they've tried this one with this one and this one, and then with that one, and then with that one, and they're all showing benefits. So it's really about getting a combination of them. And there are lots of combinations out there. You can check that out. So the message here is you're responsible, you're in charge of your own health. There are lots of things you can do. The probiotics are fantastic, and they will work to reduce the signs and symptoms. However, remember, the studies are done from 8 weeks, literally, to a year or 2 years long. So you can't expect a miracle when a disease has been created over years, even decades. So what we want to do is introduce this, take our time, be patient with it, and remember, this isn't a one-off. It's something you'll be doing for the rest of your life, probably, to make sure that you have the benefits of it. And again, with all of these other bits and pieces, you've now got a solution. There are other things that you can do, and that's what we'll show in one of our other videos.